And welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. Hope you enjoyed that brutal OC, because we have returned with something different, something special, with the Club Envy X Duckling Showdown number 3. I'm, of course, Showside VIP, and with me, I'm joined by my lovely plushies and the people in the chat as well. Again, we are going to be cutting our Master Coliseum broadcasts a little bit earlier here. We will be wrapping up with the rest of those matches with Max Pack versus Hero later on in the evening, but we are here with a best of 3 between these two lovely players. And spawning in the bottom right hand corner of Oceanborn, we have our South Korean Terran player, the Orange Terran, representing Club NV. It is QuanTa. And spawning in the top left hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the Chinese Protoss player, the Red Protoss, representing Mystery Gaming. It is SCV. And I need a moment to set up all the names. You know, who wants to have their regular ID in game? Nah, no one. So one moment as I do set that up before us, and quickly to go over this as well for those that are maybe unfamiliar with this tournament series. This is a new weekly show match series. We host show matches on a weekly basis, and when I say we, I really mean Club Envy. Big shout out to Club Envy, of course. They were once a prominent Korean team. Nowadays, again, they don't really have the funds that they used to actually salary as many players as they once did. Instead, they want to support the Korean scene a little bit less by actually having, you know, a big roster, and instead by funding these show matches to support all of these lovely players instead. So big shout out to Club NV for giving back to the community, to the scene, to StarCraft. Much love indeed. And again, we have 2 show matches tonight. We have a best of 3 between SCV and QuanTa, and we have a best of 7 right after this with Bunny and Dongregu. DRG. So we have a ZVT thereafter. I know that we have to kind of get out of the mindset of mirror matchups. We just wrapped up with most of the Master Coliseum broadcasts, and it was just pure TvT and ZVZ and just mirrors all around. Now we can get into some StarCraft. We can get into a bit of a different dynamic, is what I should say. Very different dynamic here. Talking a bit about the players though, as we ease into this. And again, as a reminder, this is every week, every single week, we host our show matches and we feature different players here, mainly from Korea, but you can see here even a Chinese pros being involved. Next week, we have a Swiss format instead. The Wikipedia page is already up and running. I recommend checking out the Wikipedia page because there's a lot going on. A lot of players getting involved, a lot of Koreans getting support. So now Reaper does dip into the main base. It's going to be threading that mineral line. We have our tech of choice, going to be a Twilight Council opener, and QuanTa does see. He does confirm. He is aware of the tech. Behind this, we do see our CC on location, on the low ground, getting things up and running, and we are easing into a 1-1-1. So it's going to be a 1-1-1 opener at a QuanTa up against a Twilight Council based opener as well. This should be leading into a mine drop, but no, never mind. We have Hellions on the way behind this. Okay. Hellions in production, have our tech lab as well. Starport's a little bit further back, so we shouldn't really be seeing an add-on swap. As Reaper dips back into the main base, trying to get another read on what's happening. And ideally, we need to get a read on how many gateways. It is Blink, that is true, but how many gateways, how aggressive is SCV plan on being? Also, not confusing at all that the player called SCV is Protoss. I am shaking my head. It's similar to a UED soldier. Oh, as we use... Oh my god! The control! Boppy! Jesus! QuanTa making use of the tall grass there to avoid that adept shot, microing out to that Reaper, and does keep it alive. A very nice control there out of QuanTa. Behind this, we do have Stim on the way. We spoke about the tech lab on the racks earlier. We're getting to early game Marauder production. Very fast Marauders here. And we're not going for a medevac, we're going for a Liberator. Very aggressive build here from QuanTa. And let's see if he can get into it. Meanwhile, we have confirmation as the Hellions, they do bypass the wall. The wall is not a wall, it's wide open, and probes are going down. They're getting roasted here as 4 workers. 5, 6 even probes go down. 7. As well as that final 8th probe. Good trade here out of QuanTa. Again, Hellions, they don't scale well into the mid game, so trading them out for workers is always ideal. And I was about to say that it was an economic opener, 2-gate blink into a 3rd, which means there's no aggression. There's no warp prism. There's no way to reinforce. There's nothing really that QuanTa has to be concerned about. He's chilling back at home, building up his army. In a good position. Does deal quite a blow to the economy here of SCV, and gets away with it. Does get away, and we're not done. Liberator making its way towards the main. Likewise, we do have SCV back at home, getting into interesting. So it's going to be 2-gate blink into a third, into Colossus production. Colossi going to be on the horizon here for SCV. Liberator comes in, good reaction. We do pull away. Do minimize our losses against the Liberator at least, but again, the Hellions did so much earlier. We're still recovering. Liberator being as annoying as possible. And we will be forcing back some of those Stalkers. Meanwhile, we do see QuanTa still building up here. Again, a hefty Marauder counter early on. Observer does get eyes on the production. It is going to be a 3-1-1 setup. Pretty standard setup here on 2 bases. We will confirm. And we get an eye on the army composition as well, which is important. No tanks. No tanks whatsoever for QuanTa. He's going mainly Marauder Mine. Again, is a pretty terrifying army in its own right. Marauders, they can do well against gateway units, against Colossi, Immortals. Speaking of, Colossus production has commenced. First Colossus on the way, third base getting up and running. Charge on the way as well to help refine this army, and we do see SCV moving out with these Stalkers. Now again, he can't reinforce. His goal here is to pick away at the army to get a Marine, to get a Marauder, to get whatever he can. Gets 1 Marine so far, gets a bit of damage dealt to some of these units. Widowmine almost goes down. But we are continuing to push. Again, SCV keeping up with the movement of his opponent. Well, as a Liberator, trying to go Hammer at the natural, does get shut down. Does get shut down in the end. Widowmine soon to be sieging as well. 2 of them, 3 of them go down. But the army, we still on forward. We dive on that Colossus. You can see how quickly we do just chew away at that HP at the Colossus, but it will barely survive. The overcharge, it pays off. We barely hold on. We clean up so many Marauders, and QuanTa overextended. That was a dive that was meant to kill the Colossus and break the third. That was committed, and it failed. We lose everything. Only the medevacs make it out, and back at home, QuanTa is still building up his army. 3rd CC on location. He has lost a lot of momentum, and suddenly SCV not looking too bad. SCV getting his 4th base on the way. Colossus survives, 2nd Colossus on the way as well, getting into double forge, double upgrades, extend double lance. SCV looking quite good behind this. Here we go. We do see QuanTa moving out towards the left-hand side, going for his own mine drop. Doing what he can. Gonna try and recover here and deal another blow to the economy of SCV if at all possible. SCV taking a more defensive stance, fanning out some pylons, getting a read on what's coming his way. Observer does get eyes on the medevac, and good reaction. Stalkers, they do rotate over. Towards that natural. Ooh, medevac goes down. The mines. Shot's going to be going up. Decent connections. 3 probes go down, and at the same time, QuanTa focusing on his push on the right-hand side. Does catch a pylon. Does catch a pylon here. As a Colossi, they will be able to keep up with the movement though. Once again, only 3 workers went down. Another mine drop sipping into the main. A bold move once again here. Out of QuanTa will be shut down. At least one of the Widow Mines. The other Widow Mine. Oh, the medevac takes a lot of hits. Widow Mine will burrow. And we will get a shot off. Oh, the retargeting. Good retargeting there by QuanTa. Gets 3 worker kills. And the army is dragged out of position. We are chasing this down, which means there's an opening. There's a big opening here at the 4th base. But we go for the pylon. SCV, he has time to respond. He rotates back over. As he even goes for his own Zealot run by. So far, so good by SCV. Shuts down the Widow Mines, keeps up with the movement, doesn't allow a way in. But another drop slipping into the 4th. At the same time, Zealot run by gets into the mineral line, gets into the 3rd base. Gonna get a couple of mules, but not too much else. 2 SCVs go down. And the drop across the map still not committed. As there we go, we will get some counter damage done here. Probes are falling, overcharge is forced. And SCV doesn't turn back around. He's committed. He's pushing in. He wants to try to break this position here and now. Is losing quite a lot of SCVs back at home. But he doesn't care. Does focus on the Vikings. Big mine shots going off. Nice EMPs here on the Stalkers. And the Vikings, they're going ham here on the Colossi. Can we barely break through? One Colossus does go down. The other getting very low as well. It looks like we have just too much Terran. The Marauders, they stim on forward. They get on top of the Colossi and every single Colossus gets picked off. But what about the SCVs? A lot of Stalkers, a lot of reinforcements. They get into the middle line. 23 SCVs go down. Probes also falling back at home, and we do get a kill on the Nexus. The Nexus does fall. 12 probes alongside it. Things getting very chaotic as we go for another big warp in. And we take control of the main base. SCV is popping off, getting the middle line. He cripples the economy even further here of QuanTa. The Marine drop across the map, running out of steam. And we're going to the last bastion of hope here, the final mining base. We go straight into the third. More SCVs going to be going down. Oh, the friendly fire. Mine shot going off. This will eventually be forced out. We still have Zealots in the main though. They're still wreaking havoc. Will eventually be cleaned up, and as the dust does settle, QuanTa is down to 35 workers. 35 SCVs remaining. Barely an economy. And even though SCV may have lost the Nexus, he has a backup base. We should be transferring our workers over. So some inefficient mining going on here from SCV. Essentially double expanding. He has a fourth, he has a fifth soon to be on the way as well. His economy is booming. His army, though, is lacking. Remember, his Colossus count was reset. He has one Colossus left. So QuanTa, what he lacks in workers, he makes up for in army. QuanTa's pretty all in, and he could break his opponent here and now. This army has potential big EMPs. Big EMPs here on the Stalkers and the Colossus. And we're zoning the army away. We're going for the fourth base. Once again. Some big Colossus swipes going off the mine. Mine takes down the Observer. Observer gets picked off, but SCV is holding, and the longer this goes on, the better it is for SCV. The better it is for the Protoss. QuanTa rotating around. Ooh, running out of energy on these medevacs. Running out of steam. As he will pull back. Just consolidating his forces. He's got his fourth base actually up and running as an orbital. A little bit greedy here, but it is up. And you can see that QuanTa is trying to recover here. He's on up to 50 SCVs. Meanwhile, SCV is still on 85 workers. Jesus. Arguably, he has too much money. How many gateways do we have? 8. Could do with a little bit more. But SCV, he's soon about to max out. Burning through his bank, burning through his money here. Army is revealed. SCV going to respond at the same time. A Marine drop towards the left-hand side. QuanTa is pulling SCV apart. Is it enough, though? As we collapse on these Marines, the mines could be going off on the Zealots. Good drag here, good kiting from QuanTa at the same time. Marine drop comes in from the left-hand side, forcing a reinforcing warp in. But this should be enough. As the Zealots will clean this up. At the same time, QuanTa moves in once again. Good EMP. Oh my god, very nice EMPs here on the Stalkers. Very nice EMPs, but it looks like there's just too much Colossi, too much splash damage. Oh my god, massive swipes go off. Across the map, 14 SCVs went down towards Zealot counterattack. At the same time, though, 15, 16 probes go down as well. The medevac drop finally gets cleaned up. Both players are hurting, but QuanTa still hasn't recovered. Still on a very low worker count. QuanTa is still on the back foot. And SCV is still in the driver's seat. How many disruptors? Too many. 6. 6 disruptors. Now we're getting into Immortal production. Do love to see it. Immortals on the way. We're getting a 6th Nexus. We don't even need it, but may as well. May as well go for it. Looks like SCV, he hasn't seen the 4th. He doesn't know that this base is up and running. This is keeping QuanTa in the game. But he needs to do more than just tread water. He needs to do more than just hold on. Base has been scouted. Drop going to be shut down. The Nexus is getting very low, but we will lose an entire drop of Marines. Zelts do get eyes on the main army. And SCV, we can push. We can push out. We can either engage with the main army or just go for a big counterattack. What are we thinking? Where are we going? SCV he's up 40 supply. He is up in the supply here as he's going to be rotating around. So by running into the army, won't achieve too much. Getting a little bit more done here on the right, forcing out a stim. And here comes SCV coming in from behind. Big swipes going off here on the SCVs. These sneepies. Oh! Whoa. Novas are going to be going up. Big connection. Massive connection here on the Marauders. And 11 workers went down. The Zealots are still wreaking havoc here at the third base. No shot. They bust on in. 16 workers go down. SCVs killing SCVs. No. Just realized. What does SCV mean anymore? Who knows, Bobby? Who knows? As we do see our Protoss pushing out. We have had some good EMPs, don't get me wrong. Immortals on the way, they get caught out. Good catch. 2 Immortals going to be going down for free. Yeah, we collapse on this position. Novas go off though. Forcing a bit of friendly fire. So we collapse on this, but massive connections once again. The Colossi looking very exposed, but we should have enough. GG gets called, and SCV will take game number 1. GG. GG, well played. An assault game there from SCV, able to maintain his position, and of course, able to maintain his position there, able to take a pretty strong lead early on and eventually snowball out of control. And with that, does maintain it as well. We saw QuanTa, there was so much pressure on him to try to bounce back after losing so many workers, and he was never quite able to recover. Never quite able to from that point. As we're now getting ready for game number 2, going to be on Hecate. What I will say though is I do think that QuanTa and SCV are pretty comparable overall, and again, if it wasn't for QuanTa's dive early on, losing his army, losing his economy, like, I'm sure we can have a more back and forth here. He was achieving a lot with his drop play, is what I will say. Like QuanTa with his bio drops, with his Widowmine drops, he was achieving quite a bit there. His multitasking was on point, but again, just defending against the harassment, against the Zealot run-bys, against the Warpins, that is where QuanTa did struggle. And here we go, we're diving on into this and spawning in the bottom right-hand, there we go, in the bottom left-hand corner of Hecate, we have our South Korean Terran player, the Orange Terran, representing Club NV. It is QuanTa. And spawning in the top right-hand corner, we have his opponent, we have the Red Protoss player, representing Mystery Gaming. It is SCV. Here we go. SCV is going to be coming out swinging here already with a 1-0 lead. Can he keep it up? I love that he's going to be checking initially here for a proxy racks, just making sure that he doesn't get cheesed out before moving out across the map. It's a very safe play here out of SCV. Back at home, QuanTa getting ready for his own opener as well. No cheese, no proxy. Nothing too crazy, nothing out of the norm. To appreciate it. So Probe is going to be slipping into that main base. And yeah, being a bit of an annoyance, looking like an economic opener out of QuanTa, going for a Rax Expand. Single gas opener out of our Orange Terran player. CC is soon to be on the way, and SCV doing the best he can to be as annoying as possible and delay this space for as long as he can. Oh, and that's quite a delay. Again, going to be a couple of seconds late. But again, from here, QuanTa just opening up economically overall, and SCV should be feeling pretty safe. Pretty safe, pretty secure. Should be feeling pretty secure overall. As from here, what kind of tech do we end up going for? Now, Hecate is an interesting map, has a short rush distance by ground, that is true, but is also very defendable. It's a very defendable by ground map because of all these choke points, because of all these points of elevation. As a result, I wouldn't be opposed to another Blink Stalker based opener, and there it is, Blink is on the way. The Twilight Council's on the way. Should be for Blink. There are some players that like to dabble in DTs and Dark Shrine openers. Those people are crazy, and they have mixed success in this matchup, and we shouldn't be seeing that here. Now the question becomes, sure, it's Twilight Council, should be Blink, should be at least 2 gateways, but how many gateways exactly? 2 gate, 3 gate, or 4 gate? Depending on how many gateways we throw down, it does kind of dictate how aggressive the Protoss is going to be. So we'll keep an eye on SCV. You know, QuanTa back at home, getting into his 1-1-1. Once again, getting into additional Hellions. Remember, last game, the Hellions, they were able to get a lot of damage done. They killed 8 probes in game 1. Can we achieve something similar in game number 2? As it's the same opener. We're getting to 4 Hellions and a Liberator. Same build as game number 1. Meanwhile, SCV is not going for the same build as game 1. I see 2 gates. I see 2 gates here at the natural, 1 gateway in the main. It's going to be 3 gate Blink Stalker, so a little bit more aggressive here by SCV. Now with this extra gateway, means an abundance of Stalkers. It means that his initial defense is going to be stronger. It also means that he can counterattack and contain his opponent. Now, it's only 3 gateways, so the likelihood of us actually diving into the main and wreaking havoc is low. Instead, the contain is more likely once we deal with these Hellions. Speaking of, Hellions going to be rotating around. They're going to be threatening a dive. Is this a full wall, by the way? Oh, I think so. Yeah, no way in here for these Hellions. Stalkers are amassing. Wait, is it? That's crazy. Do we cancel? We are. We're going for a 3rd. Interesting. Okay, so we do have an abundance of Stalkers to work with, but I believe we're going to be canceling this. Yeah, we're going to be canceling the 3rd gateway. Just only there to wall off. Only there to wall, and we have plenty in position. At the same time, Liberator dives in, but we are likewise in position as well. We trade 1 for 1, 1 Stalker for 1 Liberator. Solid defense here out of SCV, and he does get his 3rd base up and running. Let's go. Solid defense, economic start here as well. Again, the 3rd gateway was just a fully wall off, was just to make sure that the Hellions could not find a way in. And game 1, these Hellions killed 8 probes. Game 2, 0 economic damage. A much cleaner defense here by SCV. Very nicely done. Across the map, he slips into the main base. He does get an eye on the production. It's going to be a 3-1-1 setup here by QuanTa. And SCV is fully aware. Fully aware of the composition. Fully aware of the tank production. That's what's important. Remember, last game it was a heavy Marauder Widowmine army into continued Widowmine drops. Here, we have confirmation. No Widowmine drops whatsoever. We're getting into a heavier tank count for a heavier push. So this will lead into a much more stronger timing out of QuanTa, but it also means that SCV doesn't have to worry about defending against drop play. Yeah, no mine drops this time. And SCV is fully aware. Meanwhile, we're just building up our armies. We have a massive gateway explosion. That's going to be 8 gates in total here for SCV, getting into charge. Going for a swarm toss style. Who needs Colossus? Who needs splash damage when you have a wave of zealots? That's true. So it's going to be a lot of zealots, Papi. A lot of zealots. The way this works is this is ideal when it comes to engaging in the center of the map. Fighting out here in the center it's going to be so difficult to deal with a wave of zealots without SimCity. Good link so far, but 1 Stalker is going to go down. QuanTa going to be going for his push. Behind this reinforcing. Good movement here out of SCV. Going to be slowing down this army. Getting a couple of extra hits in. And we are working towards the bay. We will eventually have Colossus, but for this first push, we will not. It's going to be all about the Stalkers and the Zealots. It's going to be about the Gateway army. I believe we have a couple of force fields available. so we can force field the ramp. This is the advantage of Hecate. Again, this ramp is so narrow, so difficult to push into, and QuanTa knows that, so he rotates around. Does rotate around, looking for another way in. Does catch a Zealot. Does get a Zealot in the end. Behind this, going for a CC on location. We do get a Warp and Zealots into the main. AI QuanTa still trying to find a way up this ramp, and he will be losing SCVs back at home. Workers are going to be falling. QuanTa still not committed, still not pushing in. And we get another warp in. We're going for the tank. No shot the tank. It's gonna go down. And QuanTa, we gotta go. We gotta send it. Good tank volleys on the army. Again, tank did go down across the map. Liberator is gonna help to defend. Gonna help clean this up. Once again, the tank's just leapfrogging forward, getting ever closer. Good force fields. They would clean up some of those Marines, some of those Marauders. And across the map, 12 SCVs go down. The Zealots is still going ham. They're still just wreaking havoc here. 15 workers go down. Before we eventually clean this up, that Prism is still in the main base. We're still going for another warp, and it's out of range. Barely. As we are being a little bit wasteful. That last wave of Zealots not achieving too much. Good hold position. Yeah, once again, a good force would we catch 2 of those Marauders. Every Marauder counts. Every Marauder does count. And finally, the Warp Prism is forced back, but we can just go to the low ground. We go for another big Warp, and we deny the third base. And this army is mainly a tank army. Like, there's just not enough to support this. We're going for a draw. Okay, I'll say we're not going for a doom drop, are we? No, we're racing back home. We have to. We're turning back around, and SCV is looking solid, by the way. We're building up the Colossus, Disruptors. We're on 3-base saturation, soon to be a 4th, and QuanTa, the pressure is on. Pressure is on. Why is SCV Protoss? Right? Maybe he used to be Terran. Maybe he used to be Terran. He saw the light. He saw the Protoss, papi. He liked what he saw. Aye. And here we go. We're boosting up into the main base. A massive doom drop. 10 tanks. 10? What am I saying? 4 tanks. Where did 10 come from? But we are going to be stuck in the. We're going to be stuck in the corner of the map. No way in. We are in position. A couple of tanks were left behind. Third base being taken. This is the advantage here, is that yes, this is committed, and it's going to be devastating if QuanTa loses this army, but he's getting his third base up and running. It's getting fully operational. Saturated as we speak. Second army pushing towards the left-hand side. Oh, but SCV, he's in position, just out of range of that scan. Big warp in here into the third base. The warp in, part of it will finish. And we collapse on this army. We collapse on the Marines. There's no way out for these tanks. We have to save them. The tanks are saved. The Marines are not, though. And SCV, he can keep on pushing at the same time. Doom drop into the lane, but we are likewise just waiting for it. We are lying in wait. SCV everywhere he needs to be. Yeah, we are going to be committing. Nova goes up. Not quite. There we go. Nova's going to be going off, but there's no way out. Big connection on the SCVs, on the Marines. At the same time, QuanTa does go for the Doom Drop into the natural. Does siege. Good position. Does take control of the natural base. And we are forced to recall back home. And we go for the dive. Good target firing out of QuanTa. Does get 1, does get 2 Colossus. And will barely not get the 3rd. But this was still a costly trade here for QuanTa as he plummets in supply. Gets 16 probes. But SCV's economy is still superior. He's got a 4th base. QuanTa stuck on 2. Stuck on 2 CCs. Long distance mining. What do we have to work with? We have 3 tanks. We have 3 tanks. Handful of Marines, handful of Marauders. SCV is going for another big push. Now, SCV, when it came to his recall, if you remember, he did lose a lot of high-tech units. He lost his Colossus and his Disruptors. He has 1 Colossus left, but he catches the tanks. No shot. 1, 2, 3 tanks go down. GG gets called. And SCV will take the series 2-0. GG. GG, well played. Congratulations, as SCV will come out on top here. He will take the show match 2-0. My condolences. My condolences to QuanTa, as he did have a good showing here. He had his moments, especially game 1. Game 2 was more brutal, is what I will say. Game 2 was SCV definitely having a lot more say and in a lot more control. Game 1 was more back and forth, and QuanTa was able to have his moments, was able to spread his wings and have more back and forth. But in the end, SCV did overcome the worker, now turned Protoss. Now in charge, and congratulations to SCV here for taking the series. Very well done. We have been keeping our eye on SCV recently because he, especially with China merging with the Oceanic region, SCV has been popping off a lot more and has been at the forefront when it comes to those regionals, the Oceanic or Rest of Asia regionals for DreamHack. So a really good player, and definitely a player to keep an eye on. GG, well played. With that, we are getting ready for our next series. We have one more matchup, one more show match, but a much larger one. This was merely a best of 3. Up next, best of 7. Best of 7 between Bunny and Dongregu. Here we go. Bunny versus DRG in a TVZ. Let's go. Vetoes are currently underway. I will set up predictions. Predictions will be set up for this series, so you can get your gamba going in the chat. I will do my best to set that up. And we're going to be going on a short break. We're going to be going on a very short break. When we return, we will have our best of 7. See you soon.